What's going on, Sports Nation? I'm your host, Kenneth Tiberius Clark, and you guys are listening to another episode of the Sportsclusive Podcast. So I'm sure we're wondering, okay, what topic are we going to cover? What new sport are we going to cover today? But the truth is, today is actually going to be goodbye. Today will be the final episode of the Sportsclusive Podcast. After 2 years and, right around 50 episodes, we're bringing it to a close. Yeah, it's a little tough. Now, for some of my avid fans and supporters, people that are constantly tuning into the podcast, I'm sure you guys are wondering what happened. The truth is, I just lost my passion for sports. It used to be something that lit a fire, under me, and it gave me something to be excited about. And I just don't love it the way that I once did. I think that I'm in a transitional period in my life where the things that used to make me go, they don't make me go anymore. They don't light that fire under me. And I'm trying to figure out who this new person is and what his new passions are. And, obviously anybody that follows me on social media, I've gotten into more travel and, trying my hand. We just talked about boxing and that's something new that I'm trying out and taking more seriously. But yeah, it's just a big, humongous transitional period. And I kind of had to look at the big picture, and I had to ask myself if this was a priority for me anymore. And it's not. Another thing is that I just couldn't see myself doing it long term. Multiple times, my producer, who's phenomenal, Jess Hurley, has talked to me about doing my pitch deck. Anyone that it operates in a creative space, we know what a pitch deck is. You pitch your company or your podcast or whatever to potential sponsors. And, I always started it, but I was never able to finish it. And it wasn't because I didn't feel like it was marketable. I actually had potential sponsors reach out to me, inbox me, email me like, hey, we like what you're doing. But I kept asking myself, like, man, could I see myself doing this for 3, 4, 5 years? And that was something that always gave me pause. I was never able to finish my pitch deck. And yeah, but instead of, I say all that to say, obviously losing passion, not seeing myself doing this long term, I believe in finishing what we start. And I wanted to finish this the right way. I didn't want to just abandon this project because this was something that this was mine. No, this was no one else's. This was my baby. And I wanted to finish it the right way for myself and for the people that have invested and the people that have supported me throughout this process. Over the course of the show, the show was fun. Looking back, the show was so fun, guys. Like, I got to talk about a wide array of different topics. The athlete identity crisis, which was actually wound up being probably arguably my most viewed and listened to episode. Probably my personal favorite, how the NFL evaluates quarterbacks. We talked about the conduct double standard, gender, men and women. And then we also had some great guests. I had the jiu-jitsu princess Zoe. You'll see it. I still have it up on YouTube, and you'll still see snippets of it. Very adorable young lady doing jiu-jitsu, and she was really good at it. I interviewed her and her mom. Adrian Purnell, I got the LFL experience. That girl is crazy, beautiful, but crazy. But that was a very fun episode. Also, one of my more popular episodes. We had Ezra Freck, who actually, as we speak, as I'm recording this episode, he's at the Paralympics. He's in Paris, and he should be well on his way to win gold. So hopefully in the future, he did. And we had Connor Rogers. I actually had Connor Rogers on a flashback episode when I was doing the break room breakdown. And Connor Rogers, this was before he'd worked for Bleacher Report and had his little podcast, but now he's blown up and he's well in line to become like the next big thing, the next big broadcaster and personality in sports media. So I was happy that I was able to kind of catch him early in his career. So overall, it's not, even though it hurts and it's painful, because it's a loss, it's something that I'm going to have to grieve. It's not going to be a big part of my life anymore. But I can look back and say that, I had an idea and, God gave me the tools and the resources to bring something to life. And I think that any creative can appreciate that. We're crying to the camera and shit. So yeah, I'm blessed. And I had some great people along the way. Jess Hurley and EPYC Network. They were great. I met Jess years ago and just remember how direct and blunt she was, and what I need to do to actually, be able to make this work, to be able to produce to be able to put out a podcast. And, when I was excited when I got the chance to work with her. So shout out to them. And then we got Ahmad Rashad. Hope you didn't think that I forgot about him. I got my start with Ahmad Rashad and my producer. And, I just remember having conversations with him and just telling him, just how thankful I was to him. I started my podcast years ago when I was going through my divorce, which was tough. But, I'm appreciative, and it's just been a beautiful journey. And I remember doing an outline for this episode and I was getting emotional, but here is a frame as somebody very special to me got for me. Shout out Nina Bobina. But yeah, you'll see this is actually the Break Room Breakdown sports podcast, the original podcast I had, and this was rooted in sports. I had the co-host, Swan Don, and we were doing some good things on there as well. But man, excuse me, y'all. I'm thankful for, once again, everybody that supported and that tuned in, and yeah. Thanks, Sports Nation. Thanks for showing love to me. I may need to edit this out. I ain't planning on crying like this, but I love you guys, and we'll see what God has in store for me.